I struggle with push-ups. I still can't do them on my toes. One day I will, but I have a few tips for you to help them feel a lot better and to also leave you feeling better after you've done them, so you're not so kind of tense through your chest or feeling it up into your neck. So the first thing is use your hamstrings to help anchor your pelvis. The second thing is using your serratus muscle. The serratus runs alongside the rib cage and helps to pull your scapula, shoulder blades, around your rib cage into that nice rounded position. And the third thing is being able to get the low traps engaged to pull those shoulder blades back down. So I'm going to set myself up in my push-up position, using my toes to drag up the wall to get my hamstrings on. So they're going to help keep me anchored in this nice stacked position. My rib cage and my pelvis are lined up. My hands are underneath my shoulders. And the first thing I'm going to do after I've got those hamstrings on is find my serratus muscle. So remember, we've got this muscle here, runs underneath the lats alongside the rib cage, pulls that shoulder blade through when I protract. So when I protract my shoulder blades, I don't want to just push my spine up like this. See how it pushes my head forward and makes my chest crunch forward? We want to think of keeping the sternum lifted, and this movement comes from underneath the armpits, just pushing the entire rib cage through the shoulder blades towards the ceiling. So I'm going from here to here. So it's just that small movement. Here's my shoulder blades retracted and then pushed through to protracted. So now thinking about that protraction, retraction of the shoulder blades, I want to try to keep the shoulder blades nice and flush to my rib cage. So now when I go down into my push-up, I'm going to think about being protracted at the top of the movement and retracted at the bottom of the movement. So at the top of the movement, I'm going to take a big inhale, protracting around my rib cage. My shoulder blades are pushing my rib cage through, and I'm going to hold that breath as I come down. Down into my push-up, pulling those shoulder blades down towards my spine, using those low traps, and then I'm going to push from underneath my armpits to come back up to my protracted position. Inhale at the top, protraction, pull those shoulder blades down my back, keeping them on my rib cage, and then exhale to come back up. And getting that full protraction again at the top. Inhale, and then slowly coming down, retract, and push back up. So I'm keeping the rib cage and the pelvis moving at the same time, rather than letting myself head bob. So I'm not coming down like this, or my rib cage coming all the way down before my bum. I'm trying to keep that rib cage and pelvis moving at the same time. Another thing that can be helpful here is pushing on the outer palm as you go down and not letting the elbows flare out, but going a little bit wider with the elbows as you come down, and then pushing on the inner palm as you push back up. So that looks like outer palm as I come down, inner palm, wrap the elbows in, pull them down the back as I push back up. If you get pain in your wrists when you do push-ups, you can elevate the palm of your hand so it's a little bit higher than your fingers, and that just takes some of the pressure out of your wrist. If you get really sore elbows when you do push-ups, it's usually an issue of the hands being too far in front of the shoulders. So that will look like this. Hands are in front of my shoulders. Then when I go down, it means I have to use all elbows. My shoulders are rolling forward. My elbows are having to really do the work here to push me back up. And so you can fix that by just pulling those hands back underneath the shoulders more. You want to have a fairly vertical angle of the forearm when you get to the bottom of your push-up. So as I come down and I'm keeping my chest coming down between my hands, my elbows stay pretty vertical. When I push back up, it's got to come from under here, serratus, and my triceps are working more, as well as my chest, but not just all here and up into my neck. So if you do find that your shoulders really roll forward when you do a push-up and you're kind of coming down into your push-up and everything's collapsing forward like this, that's where you want to engage those low traps and pull the shoulder blades down your back as you go into the push-up. So the more you can get those low traps to engage, the less you're going to get up here in the upper traps and up into the neck to come on. Setting back up in my push-up, elbows are soft, hands are underneath the shoulders, and I'm going to pull those shoulder blades down my back towards my spine as I come down. Engage from underneath the armpit, push into the inner palm to push back up. Inhale at the top, let yourself protract, sternum stays forward, pulling those shoulder blades down the back. Exhale to push back up. And getting that full push through at the top is just going to help get that serratus on. And by protracting at the top here, not rounding through the spine, but protracting the whole rib cage through the shoulder blades means those shoulder blades can glide on the rib cage a little bit easier. Now with your push-ups, if it feels too hard to do it on the floor, you can grab a step, elevate your hands a little bit, and that's going to be less distance you have to go to the floor. You could also try using a band around your elbows. So if I put this band around my elbows like this, so they're just above my elbows here, this stops me from flaring my elbows out, but it also gives me this spring out of the bottom of my push-up. So I can use that as assistance, kind of like when you do a pull-up and you use a band, but you're using it here, catching my chest, pushing back out. So once you feel like you can get those push-ups down, you can use the wall, you can engage the hamstrings, keep the pelvis and the rib cage stacked in a good position so they're moving together. You can pull those shoulder blades down your back as you go down, and you can protract, get the shoulder blades wrapping around and serratus on to push back up. They're gonna start feeling a lot better. And I know for myself and for my clients who have given me the feedback, their push-ups feel way better. They don't get that neck pain anymore. They don't get that upper trap pain, and their elbows and their wrists feel better doing push-ups. So give all of these a go, see which ones work best for you, and see if it helps improve your push-ups.